Testing, testing. Just drop something in the comments if you can hear what's going on. Hey, buddy. Man, I'm glad we're finally trying to get this going. I'm glad we're trying to put all this stuff in action, one little step at a time. It's been a long time coming, but here we are. We got so much to learn about this streaming stuff. Just trying to figure out exactly how it works and what the best quality is, what the best software is. I think this is a good one that I'm using right now. So we're gonna keep learning like we do. You see, I put a little something down in the banner for you down there, Mike. The Michael Carter. Man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your support. This thing has been it's new to me, of course. It's only been a couple months since. Well, I say a couple months. It's been like 6 months, 7 months since I've been doing this. But you've been just super consistent, right? So that means a lot to me personally. I'm not gonna take that for granted at all. So what you got on your mind, man? See, I'm trying to click through some of this stuff to figure out exactly how it works. Yeah, it looks like we got a few more people that just joined. If you're hearing this, you're in the right place. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is the first time, but oh, hey, Brett. Glad to see you could make it, man. That's awesome. I know it's been a long day. And James is in here. Okay. All right. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere. This is great. Thank you guys for tuning in. Of course, Michael Carter was number one in the chat, right? So, that support always means something. But every single one of you is just, it blows my mind that people show up to watch my videos and now showing up live to like watch me sit here and do what, do whatever you guys want, honestly. Yeah, this is kind of crazy. I wish you could see what I'm looking at right now, and I could probably actually share the screen, but it's this app that I have on my computer now that it lets me, look at your comments. It lets me put comments up on the screen. It lets me highlight certain things. This is all brand new to me, so I think what it's going to let me do on the channel is invite people. I know so many people out there in the industry. It's going to let me send links to them so that they can get on their webcam and we can start doing live Q&A sessions with some folks from the industry, from small aviation all the way up to business aviation, flight tests and all of that kind of thing. So Brett and Michael, you you would be happy to hear that I'm gonna get your well, I'm gonna have you email me your mailing address because I've got something to mail out to all the members, actually. It's a custom-made thing, and, oh, look at this. We got even more people. Welcome, welcome to the stream. This is the first time ever, so I'm glad it's working. I'm kinda looking over at my own iPad to make sure that this thing's actually streaming out, but, looks like we got it figured out. Right, so, I mean, it looks like people are just gonna keep filtering in, over time, so if you've got something on your mind, drop it in the comments and let's talk about it. If there's something you want me to look up, if there's a website you wanna browse, we can do that. Um, if you want advice on a certain aviation-related topic or just wanna talk about life, I mean, that's kinda what we're here for. I've got no agenda. I do have Trade a Plane open in the background because I always have Trade a Plane open in the background, and I'm just scrolling through Trade a Plane trying to find if anyone's put any interesting deals out on the internet recently. So this software will let me mirror that too. Um, yeah, we can play with all of this stuff. If you're just joining the chat, go ahead and just drop your name in the chat. Let everyone know that you're there. Let me know that you're there. I'm going to try to keep up with the comments as they come in. This is going to be the first time that I've ever done anything like this. So I'm glad you're here doing it with me. If it's a little uncomfortable, that's okay. I'm not going to be perfectly polished. We're just going to learn together how to use all this stuff. YouTube is a really, really great tool. And what I'm going to do is someone like Michael Carter, who's been around the channel for a very, very long time, we're going to get him to be one of the moderators as we start building up this channel to make sure that every single one of you stays in line, but that also I'm checking on the right things and answering your questions because the more eyes I have on this stuff, the better I can do for you. Man, I like your videos. Time to reduce some of the basics about Bonanza in 2025. And yes, one of the stores who can do stuff for the Bonanza. Yeah, exactly. My airplane is the 63 model, as you've seen on the channel. And wow, keeping up with that airplane has been surprisingly easy. That thing is very, very well built. Um, it's the little things that haven't been upgraded over the past 60 years that really need to be addressed, and that's some of the stuff that I'm doing in the background. I do a bit of that 3D scanning. I look out there into the industry and try to figure out who's making parts, try to get bushings and bearings and light bulbs and all of this stuff, screws and everything, get a catalog of how I can replace some of this stuff on my on my airplane. So the shoulder harnesses, that's actually a pretty good topic. So I don't have shoulder harnesses in the P35 Bonanza, and it's actually starting to bug me a little bit. My Piper Arrow has shoulder harnesses, and I love the added safety or just the way it makes me feel as I'm flying around to have that shoulder harness. It's mounted high up in my ceiling on the Arrow. I wish I could do a similar thing with the Beechcraft Bonanza. Um, Shoulder harnesses are probably the best thing you can do with your airplane after you get it. If you've got only a lap belt, find a way to add shoulder harnesses. That's probably my next step for the Bonanza. I've spent so much money fixing the propeller, the starter adapter, the gear motor, changing tires. Oh my gosh, it's been so much stuff. But the one thing I really want to do is get those shoulder harnesses in. Could you tell me a little bit more about the belts with the airbags? I've seen those before, but I've never actually seen them in person. I've never had an airplane that had the SRS, the airbag in the seat. That's a pretty big one. Yeah, right. So, we say it's about 7,000 to do the shoulder belts. As necessary as they are, that tends to rub me the wrong way, right? You can't put a price on safety. I completely get that. I'm never going to argue about the price on safety. But why can I put an entire seatbelt system into, a go-kart, that's gonna getting wrecks more than I will, hopefully. Why can I do that for 700 bucks and $7,000 is what it takes to get shoulder harnesses put in? It really rubs people the wrong way. So what you then get is the guy or gal who buys an airplane and is spending all of their money on maintenance and make sure the airplane is reliable, and then runs out of money to put shoulder harnesses in. So, oh, AmSafe, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those are actually really cool. Super great technology for what we've got going on. Brett is asking, did you hear anything from the SE1 guys? I see AOPA did a YouTube video on them too. I got to check out that AOPA video, but I heard from one of their representatives who said that the office was just so overjoyed. They were really really happy when they saw the video. So it's when I saw what they did with that airplane, it really did inspire me. Really did inspire me to go out and just thank them for going against the pattern right now, because everyone is complaining about how crazy things are, how expensive things are, how no one's bringing out anything interesting, and here they are just popping up and being like, "Hey, we've been here the whole time, ready to go." Um, yeah, so the SE1 folks, I've heard that they're really happy about the video that I made. Now, what that's going to do is allow me to open up lines of communication with them, right? I'm going to send them an email, make sure I get the right mailing address so I can send off that plaque, and tell them, will you do a 10-minute, 20-minute segment on maybe a live stream, or send me a video that I can post out to you all about that airplane. And I'm 6'5" or 6'6", so you guys know I'm not going to fit in the SE1, but that's not the point, right? They've been able to design an airplane that accommodates most people, let's be honest, is easy to fly, costs 70 grand, right? That's the big part. So if they can do that, I have no doubt that they can stretch the design to add a second seat, maybe add a bubble canopy or something, and keep it under $150,000, right? $100,000 would be awesome. Still a lot of money, but it'd be really, really great to see something coming in at about $100,000 or $120,000, brand new, for a nice, reliable airplane that you can fly around locally, go to pancake breakfasts and that kind of thing. Because that's what the rental market is looking for. It's just an airplane that locals can use to get around to the next closest airport. And I don't want to have to spend $300,000 or $400,000 to do that. So the SE1 folks have got my respect, and I'm going to be reaching out again to them to try to, well, reaching out for the first time to try to see if we can get some insider details. Let's see. Here's some challenge. Here we go. Here's some awesome aviation challenges I created years ago on my channel. In case you're interested. Yeah. That's right. So I've seen, Michael. I've seen your earlier videos. What I would really like to do is kind of revive some of your earlier aviation videos, because some of the topics that you started touching on is exactly what I want to touch on too. So yeah, we're definitely gonna look into that. And those seatbelts save the Cirrus G22 pilots. Oh yeah, so we've got countless examples of shoulder harnesses saving pilots' lives. There's no shortage of examples out there of exactly that. So one of the examples I remember from 2024, I believe it was a Piper Cub or something in that category, that had an off-airfield landing. The airplane was mostly intact. The rear seat passenger, I believe, survived, but the front seat passenger hit his head on the instrument panel and did not. So a shoulder harness would have been the ultimate in safety for that particular example. There's a gentleman here, James, in Savannah, who had a V-tail Bonanza, and he had an off-airport landing as well. And he will tell you from the mountaintops that the only reason he's still with us today is because he had shoulder harnesses. So that's, you know what, you're giving me an idea for a video that I could probably put out there. Shoulder harnesses, as being one of those things that's super safe for general aviation. The one of the next one of the next lists of things that that I'm gonna start doing in my videos. I want to put a series together called "Safe Ways to Fly." Have you ever heard or seen the show "Dumb Ways to Die"? It has this little jingle at the beginning of it. I actually have it downloaded on my computer. I'm going to use that jingle to make a new series of videos. I've got the how to buy an airplane videos that I'm starting with, and then I'm going to do like safe ways to fly. Talking about fuel, talking about your credit card being like the number one thing that you can have to boost your safety in general aviation. So it's going to be things like that: fuel exhaustion, fuel starvation, oil starvation, cooling, checking your brake pads, having a stabilized approach, knowing when to shut the airplane down at the end of the night and go stay in a Marriott or a Fairfield Inn, some cheap place where you can just have breakfast the next morning and go flying again. So we're going to work on that. I'm looking for someone to actually sing the jingle, because every time I sing on the channel, I did one video where you guys saw me do karaoke, and I'm not very good at karaoke. I play music all the time. I play the saxophone and the piano, but singing is not my strong suit. So I'm gonna have to reach out to someone to make up a little safe ways to fly jingle. Let's see. James is saying, what are some items you stock up on? Parts, supplies. I bought a ton of oil and filters. Anything else I should consider to keep the Cherokee going? Great question. You would be the master at this if you had your airplane during COVID. It was impossible to get stuff on time. If you were trying to self-isolate or isolate by taking your airplane flying, you'd be stuck because everything was impossible to get. Spark plugs are one of those things that makes the list every single time for me. It was really tough to get spark plugs during the pandemic. And so when I'm thinking about your question right now and what parts and supplies, I think about what went scarce the first time. I tried to buy something for our club Cherokee. I had a Cherokee 180 back then, and we needed just one spark plug. And we usually keep spares, but we had run through the spares on a different airplane, the Cessna 172RG. Couldn't get spark plugs. So if I were to build a list, oil filters for sure, they go scarce every now and then, and they get expensive when they go scarce. Spark plugs, at least two. I try to keep two brand new spark plugs, and I fly with them in the airplane. So if I'm off airport somewhere and I've got a bad misfire and a cracked spark plug, it's really easy to create a kit that you can just do some of this stuff in the wilderness. You've already got the oil. I tend to buy a little toolbox. It could be from Harbor Freight. I got one from Sam's Club, and it's got wrenches and screwdrivers and that kind of thing. I'm not doing major surgery when I'm in the field, but I tend to have a small toolbox, about yay big. That's about a foot, 2 feet wide, and maybe yay tall, 6 inches tall, and carry that in the back of the airplane, because you're always just one bolt away from being stuck somewhere. And I'm not talking about major work. I'm talking about the things that you are legally allowed to do and return to service as a pilot that might actually go bad in the field. Now, if you land somewhere and you see a missing screw on an airplane, are you going to tighten it? Yes, absolutely. Tighten it and continue on your journey. Maybe figure out why it got loose. But a little toolkit, I'd say a couple spark plugs. Definitely keep your oil in stock. Oil filters are definitely going to be the thing you're going to want to look for. I keep there are these towels that you can. They're disposable towels, like wipes, but they're good enough to wipe your hands after maintenance, right? After you get really oily working on your airplane, I keep some of those in the airplane because the last thing you want to do is ruin your really nice interior by stepping outside and right, stepping outside, getting into the engine, and then going back inside and messing up your interior. So I definitely keep some of those on hand. The toolkit's definitely one of those things. What else do I keep in my airplane? I always keep a set of tie downs and stakes for parking off airfield. I guess this is a wider conversation, right? Because you're preparing for the moment that you can't get access to your hangar. You're stuck somewhere. Otherwise, everything else is attainable. But prepare for that reason, that thing that you're going to have happen off airfield. I keep a spare set of tubes and an old set of tires available all the time. I took tires off the Bonanza when I bought it, and they were in pretty good shape, but they were a little bit old. So what I do is I just keep those around in case I have an obvious flat that I can't repair. I can always ferry the airplane somewhere, and so in a little tote in the back of the airplane, there is a tube, a main wheel, a main gear tube, and a main gear tire sometimes that I put back there. Now, if you've got mega tires, that's not going to work out. But that's definitely something to think about. Oh, yes, the tool for the spark plugs. Yes, you also want to keep that in your little kit. There's a small group of us, like small YouTube aviators, who are going to put together a series showing what's in the back of our airplane. We've already coordinated this via email, and each one of us is going to do a little walk around of here's what I keep and here is why. I'll give you a story. The first time I flew the Bonanza to New Orleans, um, it was New Year's Eve. I remember it because New Orleans went through a lot that New Year's. You'd remember the news, but I landed. I was so excited to take my brother on a flight the next day, just kind of poking around, popping around, and showing him around. And when I went out to the airport, I popped the cowling, and a nut from one of the exhausts had come a little bit loose. There's no, lock washer or anything on this thing. It's just held in by torque. And I didn't have a swivel adapter to get up and tighten that nut. And that ruined the flight for the day. We had to go to AutoZone and try to pick up tools and see if we can get it tightened. There was no AMP available on the field because it was New Year's. But had I just had that tool, no big deal. Tighten it, close the airplane cowl up, and go flying. But I did not have that available. So the tool for the thing you're trying to do is super important. One of the things I keep in the airplane are a bag of zip ties, various lengths and various sizes, because inevitably some wire is going to come loose and you're going to be in the middle of nowhere and you're not going to feel comfortable flying with that wire flapping in the breeze or vibrating against something behind your panel. So, zip ties for temporary fixes, duct tape or speed tape, really good to keep in your little kit. It doesn't have to be the whole roll, of course, if you're crunched for space. It could be a half a roll or something, but that always comes in handy when you're, again, away from home and trying to figure out how to do this stuff. I see we have Michelle Craig in the chat. At Oshkosh, a 6'8" gentleman sat in the SE1. He was grinning ear to ear when he got out. Now I regret not taking that shot. 6'8". That gives me hope. That gives me a ton of hope. Oh, yeah, this is a good one. A spare battery before the acid is put in is a good thing to have in your hangar. Completely agreed. I'm going to raise the stakes a little bit further here. One of those jump starters. There are several companies that make these little portable jump starters, and let me try out this. Shared screen thing that I can do. Let's go to Amazon.com. I'm gonna go Fantic jump starter and share the screen with you all and see if you can see it. Share here, no audio, share. And here we go. Oh, yeah, there we go. I'm still learning how to use this software, but let me know in the comments if you can see the Amazon screen. But this type of a thing, it's about 90 bucks. This is a really good brand. Fantic. I've got this exact unit, the T8 Apex. And this thing will jumpstart a diesel truck, right? It'll jumpstart just about anything. If you know anything about me, in my spare time, whatever that means, because I really don't have spare time, I go to salvage auctions and buy lightly damaged cars. And usually they've been sitting for months without starting. And so I tend to take one of these and it'll jumpstart 10, 15 cars if their batteries are completely dead. So this little thing is a really great tool for keeping in your airplane. The same company also makes inflator, a tire inflator. And these are super nice and really lightweight. Let's see if you can see that one. Yeah. So they make these really great things. And you can just pop them in the back of your airplane. I travel with both of these whenever I'm on the road, and I've never experienced a dead battery in the wild. And look at it, now that I say that, it's gonna happen. But no, this unit right here from Fantic is also a really good one. It'll inflate your car tires. It'll inflate your airplane tires. And you recharge it, you keep it in the back of the airplane. I've kept one in the back of an airplane for a year and never used it. And when I turned it on, it was still at like 80% charge. So that's a really great get out of jail free card. I use DeWalt on my Jet and Bonanza. Yeah, so DeWalt's another great brand. You want to trust those brands. You want to go. This is one of those areas where if I were just keeping it in my car, I wouldn't necessarily be too picky on what brand I used. But keeping it in my airplane, a couple miles up in the air, where fire is probably your number one fear, I would like to go with a reputable brand that's got tons of reviews and consumer reports. That way we're not getting in trouble as we're flying with these things. So a jump starter, a battery inflator, and yeah, the Piper Arrow has the battery in the back compartment. So when I hook up the jump starter to that airplane, or if I ever have to, it's well out of the way of the propeller. The Bonanza, the battery is in the front, right next to the propeller. So what I tend to do is I tend to have a little extension cable. It's about 2 feet, 3 feet long, and hook that up to the battery if I ever have to do this. But I've never had to do it in the field, and I really don't intend to have to do that. I really go out as much as I can and check the battery health of my airplanes about once a quarter. I have a little sheet of things that I look for in regular intervals. So I'm not waiting until my annual to find some of this stuff. So one of the things I do is every quarter I go out with a little battery capacity tester and doing it that way. And James is saying, speaking of a dead battery, let's hope my alternator is a loose wire. The AMP is coming out on Monday. Yeah. So alternators get to be a mystery sometimes, because sometimes it's a dead voltage regulator, it's a dead capacitor, it's a dead condenser, it's a dead, it's a loose wire. I've had a loose wire on an alternator before on my Cherokee 180, and that manifested itself as just really strange voltage fluctuations. And all it took was half a turn on the nut that held on the grounding strap, I believe, or no, it might have been the power strap. But yeah, the failure modes of those things are very strange, like very, very strange. So yeah, the good news, right? I mean, we always have to look at things in a positive light. The dead battery, especially in flight, won't ruin your day necessarily. It might make it a little bit difficult to land at a towered airport if your radios are drawing a ton of power. But as we know from private pilot training, you can drain that battery down and the engine will keep on running. You'll look out the window, you'll have your iPad, you'll find a way to get the airplane down on the ground safely. So keep the battery healthy because it's an inconvenience if it's not. But don't freak out if you have a flat battery in flight. The engine's not going to turn off. Um, in a case where you have an electronic magneto, like me with the Shorefly on my Bonanza, the load automatically gets switched over to the mechanical magneto. So the electronic ignition is going to shut down if my battery goes flat, but I'll still have one good magneto as the system is intended for, having a backup. I'll still have one. So that's always going to be a great thing for me to keep in mind when I'm doing long cross countries. But it's the starting, right? It's don't try to hand prop a Bonanza. I'm sure someone has. But when the compression on that big bore Continental kicks in, you're A, gonna fall into the prop, or B, just gonna regret even trying. Um, it's not impossible, but we don't want to get to those extremes to try to get home. So those jump starters, great tool. I've even used one of those jump starters to start a car that didn't have a battery in it at all. So if that's not proof that that thing is actually worth its weight in gold, then I don't know what is. Um, so the compressor is really incredible. It's at 75 psi. You can inflate just about anything you'd want to inflate on the road. That thing will even run long enough to inflate my little mattress pad if I ever go off grid, go camping or something like that. It'll do all of that work. Yeah, unless you're specifically trained for it, on a smaller airplane that doesn't have a starter, don't even try hand starting. I think either AOPA or EAA does a course at Oshkosh and or Sun and Fun where you can go and learn the proper way to hand start an airplane. One of my colleagues at work has an Aranca Champ or a Chief, I'm not entirely sure which one, that doesn't have a starter. So he hand props the airplane every time he goes flying, and it makes him feel superior, right? And yeah, if you're doing something like that, I guess you are superior because you're better than me. I'm afraid of spinny things that can chop my face off. So good job to him. So yeah, James, I really hope that list of things, and it sounds like a lot, but I typically travel on my own. Um, if I'm going somewhere for a weekend, I'm in a four-seat airplane by myself, and I'm usually not taking large bits of luggage. So that luggage compartment stays, stocked with a kit of stuff, just to make my life a little bit easier. I keep the cover for the airplane in the back of the airplane, and I keep this little tote from Sam's Club with a lid on top of it of all of that, not emergency stuff, but all that stuff that I could use in the field. What other questions do you all have? What do you want to talk about? This is very weird to me. I have set up a light here and a light here and a camera, and I got this cool microphone, and I'm just trying to deliver value to you, as always. It's not something I've done before. I've never done a live stream before. I've taught classes online on Zoom, especially during COVID. I tend to volunteer to do that kind of thing for the local elementary school, do after school programs and 3D printing and CAD modeling and that kind of thing. But I usually don't do this kind of stuff. At least like this, where there's no one giving me like face-to-face feedback, and there's a delay. So 10 watch, yeah, we're getting up there now. This is great proof that people really are finding these types of offerings useful. And I see Brent. We've got Brent in the chat. Hello, Brent. We're asking a question. I'm buying a Cherokee 180 in a couple weeks and was wondering about this very topic: emergency necessities to keep in the airplane. So thanks. Yes. Do the what if game. Just play the what if game and see what you can come up with. And if you've got the useful load, if it's just you and one other person, and the Cherokee 180's got tons of useful load. If it's just you and one other person, or you and two other very light humans or kids or dogs, um, you've got space to take stuff, right? So that toolbox really comes in handy with the specialty tools that you need. Zip ties come in handy. I got these reusable zip ties from Amazon recently. They come in different sizes. I think it was a 8-inch size because that kind of covers everything that I might want to zip tie out of the way. But they're reusable, so it's really truly a temporary installation. It's my intent. It's my effort to prove that I'm going to wait for my A&P to make the permanent connection with ADEL clamps or something more robust. So zip ties, duct tape, spark plug tool, 3/8 ratchet, 3/8 socket. Forget all the metric sockets because every single airplane out there is standard. So 7/8, 3/8, half-inch. Even a little quarter-inch socket, quarter-inch wrench. But if you don't feel like building that small little kit, just buy one of those lightweight units from something like Harbor Freight or from Sam's Club, Costco, Amazon. Zip ties must be UV proof. Right. Yes, exactly. So if you're going to have zip ties as a permanent installation on your airplane, they've got to be good quality. You want high heat resistivity. You want UV resistance. They actually sell these rubber lined zip ties that don't cut into your wiring. You can look those up on Aircraft Spruce, but you want quality zip ties if you're going to be using them for a permanent type installation. If not, if it's just to get you home, then the Amazon brand to tie something out of the way. And again, I'm not an A&P. I'm a private pilot. I train under a whole bunch of A&Ps, and I've got enough hours working on airplanes to go get my A&P. That's going to be my thing after my instrument rating. But it's you have to know what makes sense. If something's butting up against your control cables in flight, if you look under your instrument panel or look under your seat and something with the control cables don't look right, don't fly that airplane. Don't go try to engineer a zip tie situation or solution on your own. Just don't do it. Call up an A&P and say, hey, I have a problem. I need you to solve it. In some instances, it's something that's like super obvious, where a wire has just fallen down behind the instrument panel. And getting that out of the way for the one flight to get it home, to get it properly looked at, those reusable zip ties come in really handy. But know your limitations. I know we want to keep aviation affordable, and most of the stuff that's on an airplane is super, super easy to work on, super easy to fix. But the experience of an A&P cannot be replaced, especially one that's worked in the field on various types of airplanes. So that's always going to be your best bet. Some of them are motivated by social time. So just hanging out with these folks while they're working on your airplane is usually enough to keep them engaged and wanting to help you out. So yeah, if it were up to me, I would engineer a solution for the one ferry flight that I need to make it home, and then nothing else. Have someone actually look at the thing that I'm looking at. Brent, what can you tell me about your Cherokee 180 purchase? I'm really curious. I really want to know more about that. And I'm going to move some stuff around on my screen. Yeah, there we go. Who else is buying airplanes? It can't just be me. Oh, hey, Jamie. Good to see you on here, man. Yeah, I carry military-grade MREs and water. I've been weather stranded at very remote airports more than once. Yeah, see, that's, the motorcycle folks say, um, dress for the slide, not the ride, right? It's kind of just, hey, dress for, be ready for what the possible outcomes might actually be. And I'm sure during private pilot training, someone would have or should have mentioned to you that if you're flying around, um, you know, cold temperatures, you're going to want to dress appropriately and carry maybe a little blanket. Um, Always dress appropriately, regardless. But having a little food in there would be awesome. And shelf stable stuff. MREs are perfect. They're not super tasty, but um, they get the job done, and it takes that stress off. It's wow. I can show up to this random FBO that's got a pilot's lounge, and I can stay here overnight, and I know I'm going to have some food in the morning. That takes a lot of stress off. If you're going on a long cross country, um, if you're flying in the desert, the desert west of Texas, or if you're flying along the coast here in the summertime, close to the East Coast or whatever coast, make sure you set yourself up for success. If you're going to be flying over large bodies of water, a little personal beacon is always handy. I think Garmin has a unit called the Spot or something like that, battery powered. If you get in trouble, you hit a button and it sends a satellite signal to let people know where you're at. So that's actually really, really good. Come with your AMP if you want to live. Exactly, right? Yeah, that's right. Let's see. Ed, hello. Pretty sure an operational starter is required on the 172 per the POH. Great point, right? So um, that's actually a really, really good point. I'm glad you bring that up. If I have a failure like that in an airplane, I'm inclined to not launch that airplane at all. Um, and your POH has a limitation section that will tell you what gear can be in op, and you still be able to conduct a flight to get to your destination safely. So, in my recent example on the channel with the Bonanza gear failure, I took off from Knoxville Airport, and during the landing the night before, when I put the gear down, the gear was moving incredibly slow. So I figured something was wrong there. So I had already briefed myself on the idea that I'm just going to take one ferry flight back to Savannah with the gear locked down if it didn't come up when I hit the retract. So the limitation section in my POH or AFM, depending on what your airplane was provided with, has a statement in it specifically saying that this airplane may be operated with the landing gear motor inoperative. Some airplanes might say that this airplane can be operated with the starter inoperative. Um, if your type certificate mixes old and new, let's say the Aranca Champ, for example, there's a time when the Champ was produced without a starter, and there's a time that it was produced with a starter. So they're not going to be prescriptive in needing a starter. But Cessna 172, Cherokee 180, any of these training airplanes, there's no excuse to go launching off on a mission with a bad starter or a dead battery. Absolutely no excuse. Get it fixed properly the very first time. Now, if you're stranded in the middle of nowhere and you can't find anyone to work on your airplane, that's where that jump starter for the battery will come in handy. But I still wouldn't go off hand propping anything if I couldn't be. Yeah. So let's see what else we have on here. James is asking, what are your thoughts on the new sport pilot rules? And just thinking out loud, incredible. Really great work that was done by AOPA and EAA on Mosaic. It's the modernization of airworthiness and certification for airframes and pilots. I think it's going to be a really, really great tool moving forward for aviators. When it comes down to what it's going to do for general aviation, you've got two camps. You've got a camp that's thinking it's going to bring so many people into general aviation that's going to drive prices down. you've got another camp that thinks it's going to cause a buying frenzy and scarcity in the markets for smaller airplanes, so it's going to drive airplane prices way up. I think what the best news is from that Mosaic announcement during Oshkosh is it just gets more people off the sidelines. Um, so if you haven't looked into Mosaic, I've looked into it lightly. I haven't read the 700-page document, but I've looked at the tables that outline the changes, and I've been following it long enough to know that the whole point was getting better access to light aviation, so general aviation across the board. So right now, well, when the rule is fully in place, which I think is 90 days from the time it was announced or something like that, um, you who've been sitting on the sidelines, you can't afford to go and do the 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 hours that it's going to take you to get a private pilot license. All you want to do is putter around in your Spirit SE1 and go get breakfast. You don't need to go through the entire experience of getting to the end of your private pilot license. You can go get a sport pilot license, and you'll be able to operate that airplane, or small airplanes, or it could be a bigger airplane. Actually, you get to operate that airplane without having to go the full distance of the PPL. And I think more importantly, you get to do that with just your driver's license. And that sounds a little bit strange, but it's your driver's license in lieu of class 1, 2, or 3 medical. And here's why that's such a big deal. There's so many things that can disqualify you from having a class 3 medical. There's so many things you wouldn't even think of. I keep using the example. A friend of mine just found a mole somewhere on his skin, got diagnosed with a small case of skin cancer, and the FAA had his medical removed. I don't know how it happened, but he didn't have his class 3 medical anymore, and he didn't have basic med. So his doctors, his physician, would be able to remove the lesion, no problem, no more cancer, no nothing. But the medicines and the treatment all piled up to meaning that he could not get his class 3 medical. So Mosaic now says, well, if you're just going to be out there puttering around, you and up to 1 other passenger, so 2 people total in the airplane, you should be able to go out there and fly that airplane during the daytime on your driver's license and a sport pilot license. So half the cost of getting your full PPL, but it comes with restrictions. Okay, so now instead of having, let's say, having an airplane that's less than 1,300 pounds, I think it was, the weight of the airplane has gone away. It doesn't matter what the weight of the airplane is. We can now have sport pilots and people who don't have a medical operating an airplane, as long as that airplane has a stall speed that's less than, I think it's 59 knots in the clean configuration. It's either 64 or 59. There's variations around there that I don't understand. I got to read into it a little bit more, obviously, but it's going to bring more people off the sidelines, and that is great. We're going to have more friends to fly with. We're going to get more learning, more knowledge, more information into the general aviation space. It's going to bring those folks who've just been on the sidelines waiting for the prices of training to come down. It's going to bring them out to the breakfast fly-ins, and they'll be able to go take their families across country. So I think it's greatness all around. I'm a huge fan of Mosaic. Hey, Wandel Geek, here we go. 59 knots clean. Yep, 59 knots. Oh, calibrated. That's right. So KCAS, calibrated at airspeed, not indicated airspeed, which we can go into that at some other point. I really don't know how calibrated our air data systems on these older airplanes are, but we'll figure something out. Whoa, here we go. Michael Carter gifted 1 open source GA membership to Douglas. Oh, wow. I didn't know you could do that. Thank you to the Michael Carter. Let's see if I can give you a... Yeah, there we go. There we go. Put your name on the banner down at the bottom. Did you know I could do that? I could play the clapping sound. Thank you so much. That's huge. That's crazy that we're doing stuff like this in this channel, and this is why we're gonna keep growing this thing. This is why we're gonna be the greatest small aviation YouTube channel ever, right? That's exactly where we're going. I want to be able to fly into Oshkosh with you all, and each one of you all keep buying each other beers. I don't know, wine, waters, maybe waters. Let's keep it clean. There might be kids watching, but yeah. So Mosaic is gonna be, I think it's going to just be fantastic for getting people off the sidelines, fantastic for getting people who could not qualify for medical back into the aviation space. And then also, it's going to bring a lot of these aviation companies, these small manufacturers, is going to make them realize that there is a path towards certification. So it's not just going to be experimental everything. There's going to actually be a valid Mosaic path to certification using already built standards from the core group called ASTM. So yeah, I think Mosaic's going to be fantastic for general aviation. Now, if you've already got a private pilot license, you probably won't benefit that much from the licensing part of it. But in terms of getting access to more airplanes and more people putting out certified products, I think it's going to be huge. There's other things to Mosaic as well, but those are the big ones. But you really got to read into the specs, because you can now fly any airplane. Essentially, it can be a multi-engine airplane. It could be a rotorcraft. It could be an electric airplane. It could be a tilt rotor. It could be whatever, as long as the stall speed is respected. And that's going to be the big thing that we got to look out for when Mosaic actually becomes a thing. So let's see what else we've got in here. Jamie says, I also carry $300 cash should a bank card fail or get lost. I want to always have money for fuel. Real money. Yep. I cannot tell you how many times my Amex has been declined at a fuel pump. The anxiety that brings on is just unreal, and you don't want to be in that situation. $300 cash too can buy you parts from the gentleman around the corner in the hangar that happens to be an AMP. So having a little bit of cash on you is excellent. I think in my wallet, I usually keep about 50 or $100. Maybe that's something I need to look into and stepping up my my stash. But yeah, you really don't want to be caught without something like that. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. I'm also a fan of the changes to light sport repairman certificate for LSA and experimental amateur build that you didn't build. This is almost Mike Bush's idea of creating less intensive AMP. Yeah. So another good point. A part of Mosaic brings the ability for you to get essentially a repairman certificate, like has been done in the experimental world, but you would only get that repairman certificate if you built the airplane. Mosaic is now saying that it doesn't matter who built the airplane, as long as it's in the light sport or the light airplane category, and or experimental, you can get a class done. It's a certain length of a class, and you can get your repairman certificate. So you become an AMP essentially for these smaller, simpler airplanes. If your airplane's certified Car 3 or Part 23, you still need an AMP or an AMPIA to do the work. There's no way to really go in there. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot better for people to be able to maintain their airplanes. Let's see what else we got in here. Let's see. What I did not like from EAA was their hope that young pilot would get licensed with less hours. Right. So here's a part of our responsibility out here in the GA space. We need to create programming, like Sporty's Aviation or the King Schools, or all of these YouTube channels, Instagram, social media. We need to get together and create more learning for the pilots. The pilots who have just started and are going to be out there with, I don't know, 20, 30 hours of flight time. What is that going to do for our insurance rates? I don't know. I'm not ready to make a comment on that at all. But, becoming a private pilot is so intense, and the situations that you find yourself in are so intense. Are we going to keep the same standard of education and training and experience if we make the sport pilot license the gold standard now? I don't know. I really want to spend some time talking to people who are more knowledgeable about it than I am and see what their perspectives are on that exact topic. Because we need more experience, not less. If the past few years has taught us anything, it's, I think, because of programming that's available for free on things like YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. That programming has shared so much free knowledge that I think we are bringing the accident rate down, the fatality rate down. We are doing a great job of bringing those numbers down. You see it more in the news, I get that, but we're actually bringing those rates down. And I hope we don't take a step in the wrong direction when it comes to trying to push everyone into the sport pilot license. So I completely um, understand that, Fugo. I'm taking that class November 8 to 9. Oh, that's awesome. I think you should do a little write up. Maybe you and I can do a collaboration um, on something like that. I think radio practice should be something that can be a live channel of practice experience on YouTube. Communication on radio caused a lot of accidents recently. Yes, we see the people joining the pattern the wrong way, being on the wrong frequency. I once had a really scary experience in Statesboro, Georgia, and I wrote up a ASRS report after that. But I was on final, flaps full, just about to touch down. And what I do for my landings is I transition my view from what's right in front of me to the end of the runway because it helps me with my alignment and it helps me with my flare, helps me hold the nose up a little bit more. So I go from, near to medium range to long range down at the end of the runway. And when I brought my vision up to the end of the runway, there was a crop duster coming directly towards me. So he was not on the radio. I give him a pass here because I think he just had the wrong frequency tuned in, and he apologized on the radio frequency after he noticed. But we've seen some accidents out there where just basic communication of position, what you're intending to do, where you are, it's failing. And especially if English isn't your first language, it's really intimidating. It's super difficult, but you still have to practice just like everybody else. I think, and I'm just thinking out loud right now, if we're going to do anything with AI as a tool, we could probably use AI to feed ATC practice. I fly on Microsoft Flight Simulator a whole bunch, and I have a tool on there called Say Intentions. Let me see if I can pull that up for those folks that use Microsoft Flight Simulator. And this is not a sponsored ad, so don't get excited. Let me share. Say Intentions. Share. Yeah, so this is sayintentions.ai. It is a program that you download onto your PC that's running Microsoft Flight Simulator. You can tie, like the trigger button on your joystick or a key code to push to talk, and you just talk to it like a normal ATC. You can do IFR routing and clearances, and you can do some VFR stuff in there now. So Say Intentions is becoming a part of my training kit when I'm at home. I go in there and I'm briefing, I'm reading back my clearances just like you would in the real world. It's like talking to a real person. I think Fuga's bringing up the fact that Pilot Edge, we use that in our simulator at work, and it's talking to a real person. So you actually get real person communications. That one's incredible too. They're expanding their reach as much as they can, and I really hope that they're gonna be successful in the near term with expanding how many areas they're covering with Pilot Edge. But Say Intentions, just using the power of AI and all the different voices, and it's if you tell it, hey, I don't understand what you said, just in plain English, it'll say, "Hey, no problem. Here's your clearance again," and it speaks to you like a real person. So that practice is going to be really good. Um, yeah, so Michael Carter says, "I just have Flight Sim X." Oh, FSX was probably the peak, peak of my flight simulator experiences. Flight Sim 2020 and 2024 are great. The visuals are really great, but I had so many mods for FSX, so many mods, and I just couldn't believe it when 2020 came around and none of those mods worked. So 2020 is like the gold standard now, but I peaked during FSX. Edward Poole, man, look at this guy. Oh my goodness, what's happening, brother? It's good to see you on here. Edward knows me better than any of you on the channel right now, on the chat right now. We went to school together, went to OU, graduated class 2014. Geez, that was a long time ago. But Ed's trying to do the same thing. He's trying to get that pilot's license, out there flying and make his dreams come true, just like everybody else, right? We've all got the bug, or you wouldn't be sitting here on this live stream. So good to see you tuning in, man. I wasn't expecting that at all. Wasn't expecting that at all. Oh wow, you helped optimizing the code of FSX. That's congratulations to you, because I've I think one of the reasons why flight training was I wouldn't say easy for me, but it went by pretty smoothly, is because I spent countless amounts of hours in FSX, countless amounts, and it's paying dividends now because I understand everything about the system so much better. It's nice to do it in school as well. I'll tell you that, but I understand the systems a lot better now because I spent so much time poking around on FSX. Sup, brother Edward? Yeah, right. This is like this is cool. This is like having the whole squad together, and yeah, an hour went by like it was nothing. Um, so yeah, here's my endorsement for flight simulators. Get out there and use flight sims. As a matter of fact, for you, Mr. Michael Carter, the number one Michael Carter, number one fan, I'm gonna have you help me give away a yoke, like a joystick. I've got a Logitech joystick. It's brand new. It's in a box. I've never used it before. So when we connect via email, for me to send out that members only little gift, and I'm gonna do a post on YouTube here about the members only gift here in a second. Let's have you either use it for some of your flight training on FSX, or you can help me find someone to give it away to, so that they would have a controller for FSX. I've had it for about a year. I've just never used it. I have a Satec yoke, and I've got the VR goggles and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's do that together. I think that'd be great. Yeah, what else? What other questions you guys got? I know my whole family is like stashed away in these rooms over here, just listening to me talk right now and being super quiet. So I don't want to drag it on too long. But what other curiosities do you have? I can't actually see who's on the chat right now. I see about 11 or 12 people on the chat, but I don't see when you pop in or when you drop off. So if there's anything that anyone's been dying to ask specifically, or if there's feedback for this live, because this is the first time I've done this. I go out and I make these videos. I've got a backlog of videos to do for you all, but I've never done this live thing before. So I don't have a studio. This is just my living room. I don't have a green screen yet to do something cool. I'm really comfortable sitting here right now. I got an old photography light sitting here, one sitting over here, and got the microphone that I used to do my voiceovers that I got on Amazon 4 years ago. So I really hope the quality is acceptable. I don't know if I've been in focus this whole time. So all that feedback would be great. Hey, thank you for that feedback. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of work, but I think what we're getting from it is so much more important, right? It's me doing my part to make sure that we keep flying, we keep those airplanes out there, we get more pilots. Um, Next year, I'm gonna go to Oshkosh, and I'm questionable on whether I'm gonna go camp at Fond du Lac again. But if I do, it'd be awesome to have a family of people, um, just camping around us, who are built from these various channels, right? So we can actually do great, um, for general aviation. And so that's really where a lot of this is coming from. It also helps that I have access to a ton of airplanes. Um, it kind of does suck that they take most of my money, but I think the fun that I have from them is much better than therapy. It's much better than everything else. So I'm going to keep doing that. ATC practice could be a good subject. Yep. So I've got a friend of mine, Carl, who's visiting the US from the UK, and he has a private pilot license over there. And it's difficult for him to, well, it's not difficult, he just needs practice of being here under the class Charlie of Savannah, and then being close to the class Bravo of Atlanta, just up to the north. So more practice would be great. I'm actually using YouTube right now to practice writing down um, clearances for IFR, for complex IFR routing, and developing my shorthand and actually really practicing writing all that stuff down, because the next thing I'm going to be doing is the instrument rating check ride. I got some more foggle hours I need to get and shoot some more approaches so I can be super comfortable with getting the Bonanza down in IMC. But that's my next step. So yeah, ATC practice is probably a good one. Um, and I tend to put on like my professional pilot voice when I speak to the air traffic controllers, and that's learned behavior. That's not natural for me. It's something I've heard over the radios, and I try to mimic that. And I think I sound super cool doing it. So, yeah, maybe some ATC practice would be really cool. Okay, so Michael Carter says he's got a Logitech Attack 3. Yeah, you can give what you have away. No, I think I want you to help me pick, who we give it to. That would be great. Maybe it's someone out in the community that flies Flight Simulator with their Xbox controller, or with their mouse and keyboard. Let's just figure out how to give that away. It's those little things, right? None of you would know this. Maybe Edward does, but I, living back at home where I'm from, I was fascinated with airplanes since I was a little kid, right? And the opportunities that my mom created for me to travel and just see the pilot in the cockpit, see this dude walking through, or this woman walking through the airport, doing what they've got to do, and that really changed my whole life. So me giving away a headset, me giving away a Logitech yoke, is not that's my way of just doing whatever I can for GA, and not shooting approach for many years. But to get back at this probably in another, yeah, for those who want to get, yeah, it's even at work, I tend to be on the airplane as we're shooting approaches all the time, but doing it, actually doing it with an instructor, or doing it in the flight sim, it's a high stress environment sometimes. And so I'm ready to get that, get that rating and get the training done. I want to set up a camera, like a GoPro, in the cockpit, kind of looking at the instrument panel and then looking at me. Maybe I'll use a 360 camera to do that, but with audio, so that you can be hearing what my instructor is telling me. We can fly around and just kind of chat through what's going on, so you can deliver that value to you and your training and your flying. The recording from the cockpit has been a challenge lately. The Bonanza is wired up a little bit differently from the Arrow. I think some of my audio inputs are reversed on the Bonanza from the previous owner, and we're gonna fix that when we do some avionics work here pretty soon. But getting audio out of the airplane has been a little bit of a challenge, so I think we'll have that fixed here in the next week or so. There's a bigger project that I'm doing with the airplane that's also gonna allow me to break into some of that avionics and do a little bit better. So you'll see some of that. But yeah, I want to get a few more flying videos out there. One of the big reasons I haven't been posting a lot of my flying is because, as you see, I I've been doing stuff on the airplane. We've been rebuilding parts and installing new things and getting this airplane maintained. Um, as well as we could. And so, what that has forced me to do, and I'm happy to do this, is every flight has really turned into something of a maintenance flight, a return to service flight. And the last thing I want to do is focus on the camera and the recording when I'm out there trying to listen for clunks and listen for squawks and look for system behaviors that I'm not a fan of. So I know I want to do more flying videos, but lately it's just been getting this old airplane to behave the way that I want it to behave and be as reliable as I need it to be, so that I can come back here in one piece safely to give you more great content. So that's kind of where I'm at with all of that. Jamie says, video and audio both excellent. Thanks. I really appreciate that, because I really can't see it as you are experiencing it right now. I'm going to have to look at the replay at some point in the future, but I appreciate that. Definitely want a gaming computer. Yeah, I had a really nice computer, really nice gaming computer, and I'm not making this up because we're doing channel stuff. I legitimately sold that computer so I could afford to fix something on the Arrow a couple years ago. And I bought what I'm using right now, which is a gaming laptop. So I had something portable, but it does a great job on. It's from Asus. It's the ROG G16, I think, or something like that. It does a great job at video editing, but also gaming. I'm trying to resurrect my wife's, yeah, that happened, old computer. She's got an old iMac or a MacBook that I'm trying to use for video editing, but the screen is broken. So I've got to source a new screen. You know me, I don't have enough time to do it, but I'm a tinkerer anyway, and I like being cheap. I like being resourceful, sorry, and I'm gonna have to, redo that screen and try to get that computer back up and running. All my money goes into airplanes, so I have to, use shortcuts in life to get everything else. Facebook Marketplace sees me every single night. I can tell you that much. But okay, I think we're at, we're at an hour, a little bit over an hour now. I think I've gotten great success out of this this feed, right? So even testing out banners like this, thank you for joining for the first ever live. I think I've got the hang of using this software and trying to deliver more value to you as we do this channel. So thank you for hanging out with me for the past hour. I think in the future I'm gonna maybe reposition the microphone so I'm looking a little bit more at the camera. May move the camera a little bit too. But these are all lessons learned. And in future live episodes, I think what I will do is poll you all on what major topics you want to talk about, and then bring that to the chat. Bring the photos, bring the websites, so that I can share those in real time, and then call up my colleagues and friends, like Ed, who is, he's also in test. He's also working for a major OEM, and we can deliver more value. So more topics are coming, but we're still going to do these grab bag type things where you just come on here and we riff for an hour. I think that'd be great. Every time I may pick a different music track in the background, but I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you so much for the support on the channel. It's really blowing my mind to see where we're at right now, and the response to it has been overwhelmingly positive. I always tell people, if you don't like what you see, I'm sorry for trying to deliver perfectly free content to you, for entertainment purposes only. There are 7 billion other people recording stuff for YouTube, but you choose to be here. you choose to spend time with me and look at my journey and give me feedback and say when you see something. Ben Weeks, if you ever see this, he was the first one that called out that my gear motor looked slow because he was watching a video and it was retracting slow. That's when I reached out to Kevin to try to get quotes on overhauling the motor. I didn't think I'd have to do it that quickly. So you all are a part of my journey, and I sincerely thank you for the time that you're spending watching these videos and hanging out with me. So, all right, go tuck your kids in. Say goodnight to your mom. My mom just had cataract surgery, so I'm gonna go see if she's okay. Um, Call your uncle. I told you that the last time, and I don't think anyone actually did that. Pick up the phone, call Unc, see how he's doing. We'll catch you soon. Be good to each other.